My name is Laura Lux. I'm 62 years old, and I had a transplanum, sphenoidale meningioma that had pituitary stalk involvement and was also wrapped completely around my optic nerves. I first began suffering headaches and intermittent loss of vision, numbness in my face back in July of 2013. I sought medical treatment at that time, had an MRI done, and at that time MRI had been read as normal. I continued to suffer with intermittent headaches and a lot of difficulties, and back and forth to physician and lab work and everything else, and couldn't really figure out quite what was going on. And when it reached a peak that the pain in my head and loss of vision had become so severe that I went to my physician and asked, could we please repeat the MRI? At that time, it was in October of 2014. And upon that reading on October 24th, they determined that I did in fact have a brain tumor. I'm reviewing the films from July of 2013. They did in fact find that it was also evident on those films, but much smaller. I immediately was referred to several neurosurgeons. I saw a neurosurgeon here at Hoag. We did a enhanced MRI with contrast, and that day in the office, when I returned after the procedure, it was determined that the meningioma was quite involved, and I was going to need a surgeon that specialized in this type of removal. That surgeon actually placed an immediate call to Dr. Lewis. Dr. Lewis had me sit and rest at that physician's office, and he actually came to me here on campus at Hoag. And I met him that day for the first time. It was on a Friday, and then he explained everything about my diagnosis to me, why I was having the vision changes, the pain in my head, that I did not, in fact, it was not due to occipital neuralgia or anything else. The symptoms and everything that I had been suffering with for nearly a year were in fact from this brain tumor. He explained to me in detail what the MRI showed, what we would need to do to perform the surgery. I immediately felt very confident in him. He took the time that day to explain in great detail what the surgery would be. And the surgery that I had was a endonasal endoscopic transplanum resection of the tumor. And I met with Dr. Lewis a few days later. We went over things again here in his office for the first time, and I was scheduled for surgery in 3 weeks. Those were intense 3 weeks, but each time I had a question, each time I needed to discuss something else, Dr. Lewis was accessible to me. He even met with me the day prior to my surgery, and because I was so upset and so anxious, and I knew I made the right choice in him. His expertise and experience in doing this procedure was amazing. His compassion and dedication to me as a patient, and his encouragement along the way, I do not believe I would have done as well if it had not been for the efforts in finding Dr. Lewis. My surgical experience, I found him to be compassionate to what my needs were. He not only met my expectations, but completely exceeded my expectations. My surgery was exactly as he had described in detail to me, because I wanted honesty and details, and he was very forthcoming with information and anything that he could do so that I was as well informed and confident as possible. And I believe that that prepped me for surgery. The procedure itself, I expected to wake up and have a tremendous amount of pain. I had none. And even though it was endonasal and it was a very long surgery, I think they said it was something like somewhere between 8 to 9 hours total. I actually felt I could not believe that it was over with. Fully awake, fully alert, and then we just needed to wait for my optic nerves to calm down a little bit so my vision could return. And I was in the neuro ICU for 4 days, and Dr. Lewis and his constant surveillance and care and making sure that all of my needs, medically and psychosocial needs, were met as well. And I am very, very grateful for that. And I do truly believe that the experience with him is why I had the incredible outcome that I've had. Dr. Lewis saved my life. He certainly saved my vision. He changed my life. He saved my life.